Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second weekend of W3Champions finals. It's time, 3 days of Warcraft extravaganza. We got one-on-one, 2-on-2s, and FFA grand finals. And of course, I couldn't do this alone. I'm joined by some special guests once again. A TriCast combo that we've never had before. Quberte, you were here last week. Still excited for the games, huh?
Hell yeah, man. Had to wait 1 week for these games. Couldn't be more excited to cast the next 3 days with you guys.
And from Western America land, getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning for the 2-on-2s, a very, very special guest, Monk from Frost Giant. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. 2v2 Warcraft 3 is my favorite game mode, and I can't wait to cast some of these exciting games with you.
What makes you get up for 2-on-2 at 5 a.m. in the morning? Why do you love this game mode so much?
Well, it's just the paycheck, Neo, obviously, the huge paycheck that you're paying me. I figure I might as well, I'm playing so much Warcraft 3 2s that I might as well get paid for it. Wait, you guys are getting paid for this? But in all seriousness, I just love the game mode, number one, because of the social aspect of it. I'm a pretty social person, so I like interacting with a partner when I'm playing games. And also I just love it because I feel like it's not a very figured out mode relative to 1v1. In 1v1, there's huge cash prizes. You have all the top players playing, and there's like very figured out metas. Whereas in 2v2 these days, like I feel like even with the games that we've seen in the top 8 matches, like it's kind of a bit of a wild west. There is somewhat of an established meta, but really you can always do your own thing and succeed, as we see with some of the teams today. For example, PaTo and Smurf, they're kind of just playing wild and doing their own thing, and they're making it work. And just on a personal level, every time I lose a game of twos, I find it's at my level, it feels like it's more of a strategical mistake rather than a execution mistake on my part. And I think that feels good because I know I can improve very easily in that instance.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the development of the two teams compared to last week. We've been here, Quberte, and we casted these matches. Here's the bracket. PaTo and Smurf defeated Sonic and Kaio, and those games were wild.
Yeah, those games are absolutely insane. We saw so many Huntresses being used every game. It was pretty ridiculous. A lot of tier 1 massing and just pretty much non-stop action. Those games were very exciting indeed. Whereas the second 2v2 we saw was a little bit more strategical with better balance of races as well, with Dark Reaver and XiaoKai 15sui, which is an awesome match as well in its own right.
Exactly. The Chinese are facing a Brazilian Polish team. It's a little tricky when it comes to the servers, but thanks to W3Champions, we can make it work. Tomorrow, we have the second semifinal with the same caster setup, actually, with Sock and Lawlight and Starbuck and Kraft. This could very well be the grand final as the top two teams, but that is saved for tomorrow. Today, lots of Night Elves once again. Who's your favorite, boys?
Well, I would say that the more established team is definitely probably XiaoKai and 15sui. Not only from just like the experience level of like of the 1v1 level, also as a team. I feel like I've seen them around a bit more as a team. Whereas PaTo and Smurf, my impression is they just kind of created the teams. Like PaTo's like, hey, do you want to play with me, Smurf? Smurf's like, yeah, sure. I'll whip out my panda for these two games sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the story, I feel.
I think it was actually the other way around, that PaTo qualified because he did so well with Starbuck,
Yeah.
but Starbuck then chose Kraft as his partner. So we didn't want to punish PaTo for playing so much with Starbuck. So he was able to choose a mate, and Nabu was lobbying pretty heavy for himself. So PaTo was kind of forced to choose Smurf as his opponent.
He can be very convincing.
He can, definitely. Yeah, XiaoKai and 15sui. They played together for Quao in a lot of team leagues, so that should definitely be established. Night Elf Orc is also an established combo. Do you think it's still top of the whatever we have as meta to play with Night Elf and Orc?
I think it's definitely a really solid combination, probably one that was really classically played by a lot of Asian teams. I wouldn't say it's perhaps the absolute best though, or it could be maybe like a top 3, top 4 combination. I think Orc Undead personally is probably the best combination nowadays. It used to be not great, to be honest, back in the day, but now it's really strong. And, you know, with so many more hero combinations and units being viable, it's really flourished and become like probably the best combo. No doubt why. Starbuck and Krav, love that combination so much. And I'm still a stan for the human orc combination. I think it's also another timeless, you know, classic combination with heroes and units that just work so well and synergize with each other.
Yeah, it's an NA classic to play with double Night Elf, right? Thinking back of the 2-on-2 days of XLEF and Strife Crow.
I also remember War Chief
Totally.
Rich and Starshaped playing double elf quite a bit as well when they used to twos.
Yeah, personally, I'm just so surprised that double elf has done like it's so represented in this team tournament, and with two teams picking double night elf. You actually don't see double races very much on the Warcraft 3 ladder, and it's not traditionally seen as like a very powerful combination. But the way that the teams that are playing it is kind of making it work. And I think the night elf combination, it's not like a particularly solid combination in terms of just raw fighting power. I think whenever you have double ups of a race in a 2v2 game, you just have access to fewer options. And therefore when it's a team fight and both players or all four players are fighting with each other, your resulting army is going to be a lot weaker in general. So you actually have to rely more on like hit and run tactics, on more like timing pushes, for example. You just have to be a little cheesy, a little sneaky, and try to avoid like the huge like end game team fights. Although, as a counterpoint to that, I think last week we saw a lot of amazing games from Razor Moon and his partner, where they actually showed off that you can kind of like play a macro game in with Double Night Elf as well. So excited to see what PaTo and Smurf pull out here.
Excited to see these games unfold indeed. Before we join into the first game, we're getting really close as the map picks and bans have been done. You guys can support the finals by chipping in a little bit if you can. It's up on Matcherino, W3Cfinals.backtowarcraft.com. We're currently standing at $2,600 coming from all you guys. No big sponsors, just the community chipping together. And it's the biggest W3Champions finals of all time with 42 players who all need a little bit of a reward. And for chipping in, you can claim your rewards as well. We have profile pictures for your W3Champions profile: the Blade Master, the Demon Hunter, the Dreadlord, and of course the Paladin. Last weekend, Quberte was so sure that you can crack the 3K, but you couldn't do it. So audience, would you let this handsome man on the right-hand side down 2 times in a row, or can you boost it up to 3K? I think that's the question here today.
Don't let me down, guys.
And I hope the players won't let you down. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of not letting us down, I feel like the game is about to begin. I'm excited. I'm very tickled.
We have them, and we have a join bug as well. So best to restart our W3Champions machines and then do it all again. But we do have the maps. We're going to start on Deja Vu. That is the unusual map where you can actually build and buy ships.
Yeah, we didn't really see those ships come into play, right? We did see one game on Deja Vu, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but no ships. I was disappointed.
No ships, unfortunately. And also there's no, because in the campaign you can get the frigates as well, which would be hilariously kind of broken if you could have access to those. But the transport ship is already pretty good. I think it's actually nerfed compared to the campaign as well to make it a little bit more balanced. But yeah, hopefully we can see some ship action, boys.
Yeah, I was actually part of the Warcraft 3 team when the ship was nerfed for melee games, because you're like, oh, this ship drops. We looked at it, it's like, oh, we want to add ships to the game, and we looked at the ship and it like just unloaded everything instantly. I'm like, oh, this probably isn't very balanced. So I think we wanted to make it more like the Zeppelin, where there's like a slight unload delay.
Did you guys actually implement the offload delay? Because I've never actually purchased a transport ship in a game before.
I think we did. To be completely honest, like I play Deja Vu a bunch and I've never bought a ship in my life. So
No.
there's a question as to like how effective is this really in Deja Vu? Or what's like, is it really optimal to buy it? And probably the answer is no. But yeah, we can speculate.
How can you resist the ships, dude? I don't know. Second map would be Synergy. Also a map that we haven't seen before too much.
How do you feel about Synergy, Monk?
I think it really depends. I'm actually surprised Synergy is still left in the map pool because I don't think it favors PaTo and Smurfs. What I predict will be their more like cheesy play style, because Synergy is a very special map where you and your partner spawn essentially in the same location, and you're able to support your partner very easily from that. So I'm excited to see, like, especially what the double Night Elf team will have planned for there.
Game is
Yeah.
up again. Think there we go. Okay, second try. Hopefully this works out. And last map would be Phantom Grove, which we've seen quite a bit. And I guess... Wait, is this
that another join bug?
I think this is another join bug. I'm not quite 100% sure. Our admin Remo Demo is on the case. It's kind of hard, you know, Brazil, Poland, China, Europe as observers as well. It's a tough situation, but we'll get through it. You're used to it from last week, I guess.
Yeah. Personally, for me, Synergy isn't one of my most favorite maps. I don't like the fact that you and your ally or your opponents are so close together. I feel like it really limits the amount of options you have. You know, it's really hard to attack someone's base. You know, you're pretty much like your ally can just cover for you all the time, pretty much. Where it can be really abused though is if you're able to do like a two-pronged attack on perhaps, you know, your opponent's bases at the same time. That can be quite strong, but it's pretty hard to like loop around to their base. You know, I mean, it's such a narrow map as well. So definitely not one of my personal favorites, but Phantom Grove on the other hand certainly is.
Yeah, you were raving about
I
that
see
map last week already.
Yep.
Phantom Grove is very interesting. I see all 2v2 maps on kind of a spectrum in terms of it's kind of how close you are to your ally, and therefore how powerful, like how the game becomes more of a 2v2 in actuality, or two 1v1s. And I think on one end of the spectrum you have Synergy, where it's essentially it's like one 2v2 like completely, and you're almost always fighting each other. Or you, on the other end of the spectrum, you have Lost Temple, where it's kind of oftentimes it becomes two 1v1s, and it becomes who can like win their 1v1 more and force their opponent to TP in and have and save their ally. And I think that's super interesting, because in 2v2, not only do you have to kind of cater your army to fight a 1v1, but also be very strong in team fights as well. And if we've seen any of those examples, I'd love to point them out.
All right, we try this once again. 3 times the charm. Go, go, go. Admin Remo is on the cast. Has the players ready. And we try. This looks better than the last time. Is it gonna
3 times
work?
the charm.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Looking even better than the first time. And we load in, everybody. Oh boy! 2-2, semi-final, Deja Vu. Your casting crew is Monk and Quberte. Take it away, boys.
All right. So on the top left, do you want to do intros, Quberte?
You start. You take it away, my man.
All right. On the top right, we have
15sui.
15sui. The names aren't showing up, so it's gonna be a little bit of a rocky start. And his partner on the top right is gonna be XiaoKai. But on the bottom right, we have PaTo spawning as a Night Elf player, going a traditional altar build. And on the bottom left, we have Smurf, probably going for a tavern build, and probably going for his trusty panda.
Yeah, absolutely. I pretty much expect the Night Elf duo here to be going for the exact same strategy they did before, with that panda, trying to creep him up to level 3 as quick as possible. And perhaps a lot of Huntresses once again, which I think will prove to be pretty effective against 15sui, who is playing Night Elf himself. We'll see how much XiaoKai can cover for him and perhaps relieve that pressure if we do indeed see the mass hunts once again.
Yeah, from the Chinese team, we're seeing a Demon Hunter first. From PaTo, we're also seeing Demon Hunter first. And from the Chinese Orc, we're seeing a Farseer first. So in the round of 8, we saw actually Keeper the Grove from the Night Elf Orc team. And this time we're seeing a Demon Hunter, which I think is going to be a very strong choice. If the Chinese team has seen the VODs from the round of 8, they'll notice that, hey, Smurf really likes his panda. as his first choice, and you really need that Demon Hunter as a Night Elf Orc team to control the Panda. If the Chinese Night Elf had spawned in the top left, for example, he'll be very easily able to win any 1v1 that he has with Smurf going for the Panda, because Demon Hunter just owns Panda so hard in 1v1.
Yeah, if it is indeed the Panda, then the Demon Hunter will be a pretty nice counter, especially once he hits level 3. But the Farseer is also pretty effective in delaying your opponent from creeping as well. So we'll see how much XiaoKai is able to take Smurf on, actually getting both wolves detonated right off the bat, which is a pretty unfortunate situation for him. Gonna have to wait for that next resummer of the wolves there. 15sui in the top right, meanwhile taking care of the direwolf camp here. This mercenary camp is kind of tough, using 2 to repair there, but it's going pretty smoothly. PaTo in the meantime is doing the exact same camp in the 5 o'clock position, and it is once again the Panda from Smurf.
The Chinese Orc is doing his best to kind of harass the Panda, and really, I think in this matchup, the Panda here is going to be the carry for the double Night Elf team, and it's really intelligent for the Farseer to harass that, because the Farseer's levels don't matter too much, but if you let the Panda get to level 3, that's when a lot of damage can start getting taken.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that basically all that Smurf can do is build up his archer army and then perhaps try to take on a pretty easy camp, fearing that Farseer harass might be a little bit too much, or there's no way he could hope to take on the mercenary camp. But in the meantime, XiaoKai actually trying to lure the camp here onto the Ancient of War. We'll see if that proves to be successful. The Ancient of War is actually striking the camp back, so that might end up working amazingly well for XiaoKai.
Yeah, and in the top right, we see the Chinese Night Elf player. He's actually going to take an expansion, a very early expansion. I think that's probably in reaction to seeing Panda first. Panda first, it's a very good hero if it can get to the late game, but for the early game, it has very little pressure opportunity.
Yeah, I really appreciate this play as well, because first of all, 15sui is just mopping up the map, almost level 3 already, which is pretty amazing for him. That expansion will come up pretty much uncontested. It's a pretty big map here on Deja Vu, so I don't really think that PaTo and Smurf are going to be able to do too much about the expansion, and of course the Panda is taking a long time to come online as expected. So XiaoKai doing a good job buying time for his teammate.
Yeah, that being said, I think Smurf has gotten a critical mass of archers, so he'll be able to defend any push or any harass very easily. It's just the question of whether he needs to keep in his base and be prevented from creeping. I really love this play from PaTo. He sent over a Forest Troll Priest from his Merc camp in order to give to Smurf, and Smurf is going to be probably controlling that Shadow Priest. No, it's going back to PaTo because it's out of energy, but that's just going to help him defend against this this kind of light harass very easily.
PaTo tangling with the spider's web right here. The brood mother putting up quite a fight, spawning 2 of her little babies there, kind of wailing on these archers right now near the center of the map. In the meantime, 15sui coming across with his level 3 Demon Hunter, expecting an expansion as well, which I think is quite a big misplay, honestly. XiaoKai is perfectly aware of what Smurf is doing. There is pretty much no chance that the double elf team would have set up an expansion. Kind of unfortunate, but finds the Panda anyway, and this is basically an impossible engagement for Smurf here. About to get collapsed on by 2 people, actually.
Yeah, and PaTo's really out of position. And not only is he nowhere near Smurf space, but he isn't healed up. His Demon Hunter is still very low HP, so he needs to actually go back to his base, heal his Moonwells, and then TP in.
And it's just the Demon Hunter TPing here. There's pretty much... The army is coming in from the bottom, though, to try and support Smurf in this engagement right now. I would say that they should be able to hold this pretty easily, I think, with the Moonwell support here, but it is certainly a lot of time being bought for this expansion, which, as I mentioned, is coming up uncontested right now for 15sui.
Yeah, and neither team really has any like entangling abilities, so it's going to be very difficult to get too many any kills at all. Although we do see a grunt falling.
Yeah, the Berserker in the front here for PaTo getting attacked right now by XiaoKai. I think that one's going to go down and feed a lot of experience to this Farseer, which he sorely needs. The Panda for Smurf going down here, but I think it was a wise decision not to TP, as he was only a level 1 hero with no mana or HP. It would have been a huge waste. Isn't going to take too much time to come back either, but might actually get trapped in amongst the buildings here. Smurf perhaps building a bit of a haphazard base, but we'll see. Naga purchase for PaTo right now, trying to pressure that Farseer, who is going to be forced to... Oh, actually just dies and doesn't TP there, not expecting the damage of the cold arrow to be enough to take him out. And that was pretty sweet by PaTo, honestly.
Yeah, we're seeing the strategical advantage of PaTo going for a tier 2 tech instead of expanding. And I'm wondering whether PaTo or just PaTo and Smurf can tell that, hey, this Naga seems just a tiny bit late. I think if you're looking at from the PaTo's perspective, you would expect the Nagas to actually come online around the same time if both players were teching to tier 2 and maybe have a small Naga fight in the middle. So I'm wondering if the mistiming of the Naga from the Chinese team could indicate to PaTo and Smurf that there is an expansion indeed going up.
That would certainly be a pretty heads-up play, but it would indeed be fairly predictable in this case, given they're playing the same race and should expect the same timings. Also, as expected, in Smurf's base, he was trapped, had to cancel the lore, and is now losing that lore. Actually lost both lores and an Ancient Protector. Still stuck on level 1 as well, unable to spend his resources. XiaoKai here doing a great job bullying Smurf here.
Yeah, I think actually a lot of those buildings were not canceled and they were just directly killed, unfortunately for Smurf. But even with that, look at Smurf's resources. He's at 700 resources, 700 gold, and 164 lumber. And just a ton of buildings go up right now. And Smurf just is going to do his best to keep on creeping. And the Panda, again, we talked about earlier, it's good. It's supposed to be the hard carry, but it's still level 1.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought that was the real Demon Hunter, but it was in fact the illusion from PaTo, just being ensnared and surrounded there. 3 lores as well coming up from Smurfy, which I think is actually quite smart, given if he was expecting, more pressure, that lore might go down again, but he'll still have the 2 in the rear there coming up. In the meantime, the Panda did creep that mercenary camp, shot almost all the way up to level 3, getting that 15% additional experience bonus from being a solo hero from his 2-2 tech, trying to take on as many camps as possible, speed creeping now with a bunch of mercenaries and setting down a counter expansion.
Yeah, what's super interesting to me in this game is the unit composition that XiaoKai is going for. He's opted for the Torn Chieftain first instead of the Shadow Hunter, which would be a better counter for a Panda. And he's also opted for double Bestiary Mass Raiders. And what that tells me is, hey, like, this Orc player does not intend to take a fight against the Panda at all. And he just is intending to go on for like base trading and laming if it were to come down to a 1v1 on the left side of the map.
I feel like as well, if XiaoKai ever wanted to cross map and go to PaTo's base in particular, he could do quite a bit of damage there. We see both Smurf and PaTo creeping together on the same side, perhaps as an opportunity to go cross and deal some damage and recoup some resources using Pillage. Hopefully, we've seen XiaoKai research Pillage, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, we saw actually Smurf is taking an expansion for himself, and the Smurf PaTo team has scouted the expansion from the Chinese players, so they're actually intending to take this into a long game. So normally I would say in a long game, the team that has 2 races is generally more favored because they have more options. But I actually feel like based on the unit choices that both teams are going for, that the double Night Elf team is a little favored. I feel like the Panda alone scales better than the entire Orc army.
Yeah, pretty much. This is just the basic units of the Horde here. The Grunts and Raiders don't scale particularly well, but they are amazing in hit and run assaults. In the meantime, here we see 15sui at the 5 o'clock position, attacking PaTo's base, taking out a couple Moonwells, which is pretty devastating for PaTo. Going to be stuck at 45 food there, but did manage to queue up there before those Moonwells went down. And now we see a skirmish here between PaTo and 15sui. I'm not sure who's going to come out on top here. It looks quite rough for PaTo, honestly.
Yeah, we also, at the same time, on the left side of the map, we see a skirmish between Smurf and XiaoKai as well. The Smurf TP'd in, XiaoKai kind of analyzed the situation, hesitated a bit, and then realized, hey, I can probably actually win this battle. So I think there's kind of devastation going on the left side of the map and devastation going on the right side of the map. And I think the Chinese team is kind of winning both sides.
This is the joy of 2v2. 2 engagements occurring at the exact same time. I think we could agree Smurf is getting kind of annihilated here by XiaoKai, who has a pretty overwhelming force. All those Dryads going down and being snacked by those Raiders. In the meantime, 15sui with more Bears than PaTo, who went for quite a lot more Dryads. Just isn't cutting it, I'm afraid. 15sui is getting the upper hand in that engagement as well. The Panda goes down for Smurf as well, who's at a measly 20 supply with the expansion, not even saturated yet. It's looking pretty grim for our double Night of Jewel here.
Yeah, there's only 2 heroes left on the map. The hard carry, the Panda, is down. And even though, like, I would say this is like optimal matchups from both players, the Western team cannot hold, and it's off to game 2.
Ay. That was pretty rough for PaTo and Smurf. Feels like 15sui and XiaoKai did their homework. Like, they saw, okay, there's the panda. That's supposed to be the carry. Let's take him out. And really, really good game plan by the two Chinese, I'd say.
Absolutely. It was super solidly executed on the part of 15sui and XiaoKai. XiaoKai doing his job, keeping the panda busy for as long as humanly possible. You accept at some point the panda is going to get level 3 once that pressure is relieved. But honestly, it wasn't nearly enough to protect himself from XiaoKai's onslaught. I'm afraid those raiders just chewing the dries to pieces. In the meantime, 15sui executing his game plan nicely, just playing a nice passive early game, getting that expansion up, taking straight to tier 3, skipping his second hero in order to try and get more bears out and being kind of a little bit greedy. But in the end, it worked out pretty well. PaTo, I think, maybe could look at how to do a level 3 creep route on that map and perhaps mirror what 15sui did, as 15sui not only had the tempo advantage and was full HP, but PaTo had to run home and heal up and TP to his ally when he could have been a lot faster.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was actually the key. I wouldn't say turning point because I felt like the Orc Night Elf team was ahead for pretty much the entire game. But I felt like that was like the one key mistake from PaTo's side that kind of changed the tempo of the game completely. Because of that, Smurf took a lot more damage than he needed to when it was a 2v1 in his base. And it took a while before PaTo reinforced. And because of that, Smurf's panda died and he was not able to put up his tier 2 buildings very cleanly, leading to a very rough mid game.
All right, the two favorites taking the lead here. Our next map is Synergy, and it's a very unique map in a way because both allies spawn right next to each other.
Yeah, as we discussed a little bit before about Synergy, Monk is predicting that this will not be particularly advantageous for our Night Elf friends here, and I kind of have to agree. It's going to be pretty difficult to put pressure on the Orc Elf duo. In the meantime, though, the panda might be able to creep up, and that is something that was obviously very difficult for Smurf last game, so perhaps he can get a clean level 3 this time. We'll see.
All right, just as the chat, I'm cheering hard for Nabu and PaTo. Now I want to see game 3, so hopefully they can make it work. Match points for XiaoKai and 15sui. Take it away, boys.
All right, on the top side of the map, we have Smurf and PaTo, two players that for the first time in Warcraft 3 can fit on one screen. And on the bottom side of the map, we have XiaoKai and 15sui. And again, we're seeing what looks to be a tavern opening from Smurf. And I think one advantage on this map is PaTo will be able to defend his ally fairly easily because of the close position. So normally you can see that as a negative when you're playing like this hit and run style because you are not able to hit and run as effectively. But what it does mean is that in the early game, Smurfs, my guess is going to be a Vengeful Panda, will be a lot more easily defended, and they can more easily get the panda to level 3 and then play a more macro game from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Smurf really needs to be able to play a match where he can actually get level 3 panda in relatively good time so that he doesn't suffer so badly in the early mid game. He was basically irrelevant from the get-go pretty much after that assault from XiaoKai last game, which he did marvelously well. And from our Chinese friends here, we are seeing pretty much the same composition again. Farseer Headhunters with that initial grunt to allow some creeping or additional pressure, and 15sui electing to go with the Demon Hunter. Probably going to be doing some immolation creeping here at the Merc camp, which is a nice, easy camp that gives access to some ice boys. We've got the Ice Troll Priest and the Berserker, but it should be noted that this Troll Priest doesn't actually have Entangle. Sorry, doesn't have Abolish Magic.
Whoa, your Troll Priest get Entangle, Quberte? That's what you get when you play at your MMR, I guess. But yeah, without Abolish, it makes it much worse against Wolves, for example. And I'm actually very curious as to whether he actually buys a Troll Priest, because the Troll Priest itself is actually pretty weak to a Demon Hunter that I bet he expects that his opponent will get.
Yeah, I feel like the Ice Troll Priest is kind of lame, isn't the strongest in the world, but the Berserker on the hand, of course, shares the same stats as all Berserkers. It is an amazing unit. And yeah, interesting to see that PaTo didn't actually go for Immolation so far, didn't use that to speed up his creeping, and neither did 15sui. If I'm not mistaken, he just used 1 mana burn against the Ogre Magi, but I didn't catch that. Smurf here creeping up the Observatory, getting the Parrot to Vitality, not the best item in the world, but it'll do fine. And
would you rather prefer a circlet Qubert?
I was about to say circlet. What are you talking about? But then, of course, it's been moved to the level 3 pool. Circlet would be pretty nice for sure. Or of course, Pendant of Energy. I think is probably the GOAT item there.
Yeah, we're seeing a really interesting strategy that I've actually personally never seen before from XiaoKai and 15sui. And then before I say that, PaTo comes in to slightly harass his creeping. But XiaoKai and 15sui are actually creeping the map together. And I think they're doing this because they want to take control of the watcher wards that the shops drop in the middle. And so it's less about getting levels, but more about getting that watcher ward advantage. And if you ever played Turtle Rock, you know how important these watcher wards are.
I was just itching to say this is exactly like Turtle Rock with the permanent sentry wards called watcher wards, which are pretty nice indeed, giving you permanent vision of the area around it, and of course crucially around shops, which as we know are a very important aspect of this game. And you know, despite the fact that 15sui and XiaoKai have been creeping together, obviously sharing the experience, they have a pretty decent amount between them, and the Panda wasn't actually able to get level 3 in the meantime, creeping by himself. PaTo trying to kind of delay the creeping here, but not able to do too much though against two players.
Yeah, I think on this map in particular, the level 3 creep routes, if you're not human, for example, and you're able to take the expansion, they're a little awkward. So you can see like Smurf has to do like this roundabout creep route where he has to like kind of go through his base. So his level 3 isn't going to be as fast as he probably would have liked it. And no, he has the dreaded level 2.9, unfortunately.
I was just about to say, the experience from that last troll there wasn't going to be enough for level 3, so pretty awkward indeed for Smurf to get his level 3, but should get it with one more kill. PaTo trying to take care of the Dark Troll High Priest camp, but it's putting the Demon Hunter to sleep. I think this camp might take a little bit too long here, Monk.
Well, as long as it's not a bash camp, I trust that the Demon Hunter will be able to make it eventually.
The Ice Troll Priest going down there for PaTo as well. A little bit sloppy by him. Smurf coming in for the kind of creep jack here, but the camp is pretty much gone, and it's just a level 2 Panda right now. Not so effective, that Haze Fire combination. Not really doing much damage. And 15sui XiaoKai securing their own level 3s. Very nicely done by them.
Yeah, that kind of engagement was a little sad to me from my perspective. The Panda kind of just went in, did a level 1 Haze Fire combination, and then got mana burn for 100.
Yeah, pretty much losing, what, 245 mana on the spot there. It's almost in his entire mana pool. That's absolutely brutal. And still did not secure level 3. Definitely looks kind of grim right now for Smurf.
Yeah, it looks pretty grim for this team because specifically they're both level 2 right now, whereas the other team is level 3.
Did you catch that? There was a Wisp that was going to give Smurf level 3, but 15sui managed to detonate it on time, even though Smurf breathed it. So he lost the breath, got detonated, and didn't get level 3.
That's got to be a feels bad moment. I just kind of want to, if I were, I would love to hear Smurf in comms right now because I've actually been partners with Smurf before, and he reacts pretty negatively when those kind of things happen.
Well, he was my first Warcraft 3 friend, and we used to play a lot of 2v2 back in the day when I was absolutely god-awful, and he had to carry me every game, and I can assure you his patience can run thin.
Well, we're seeing the Tauren Chieftain again from the Night Elf Orc team, and I'm wondering if that's just going to be their default strategy. It's like my thought is like the Tauren Chieftain isn't as effective in large-scale battles, but I think maybe the thought here is like you're overloading the PaTo's Demon Hunter with mana burn targets. As PaTo's Demon Hunter, you want to mana burn the opposing Demon Hunter to protect your own Panda on your team. You want to mana burn all these juicy melee heroes, but you just don't have enough mana burn to go around. So that might be the thinking here for this Tauren Chieftain choice.
Yeah, to be honest, the Demon Hunter of PaTo could pretty much burn any of the 4 heroes on the Chinese team. So I like their choices, but I do think that probably Alchemist or Shadow Hunter would have been better for XiaoKai.
Yeah, that's a great choice as well. I think Alchemist is going to, if you're especially going for team fights, I think Alchemist is an excellent choice. I think what the Alchemist does suffer in is it's skirmish potential if there's like very small battles. But specifically on a map like Synergy, I think this is a map where you want to gear your composition towards more team fights than skirmishing. So a hero like the Mountain King or the Keeper is maybe as a second hero is a little less effective, but a hero like the Alchemist might be more effective.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we see Smurf in the top left corner taking care of this camp, which actually drops a scroll of speed, an item drop unique to this map, which puts all your units at maximum speed for quite a long time. But usually it goes to waste because you kill the big creep that drops it and pick up the item, and then you clear the scraps and don't really benefit from the speed aura. But in any case, it's a nice little unique thing about this map. 15
Yeah,
Sway
I find that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I find that all players, even like the highest level players, make the mistake that they just pick up this rune of speed right away. Whereas like optionally, you would actually clear the creep camp, finish clearing the creep camp, and then pick up the rune of speed. But like you just have the muscle memory of like, wait, is there a Blade Master in this game? Like I'm just gonna pick it up right away.
Absolutely. All right, Monk, we have a pretty crucial moment here. The Dragon Turtle level 10, one of my favorite creeps, is an absolute Giga Chad of a monster. And we see Smurf and PaTo here trying to contest this camp. It is a humongous camp, dropping the best items in the game, like Khadgar's Pipe and the Endurance Aura item, for example. Also contains 2 level 7s as well. It's just an absolute beast of a camp and absolutely crucial to contest. These Adept Bears, though, for Smurf aren't doing much here. Meanwhile, the Berserkers and the Mercs and Archers from 15sui are pretty effective in the back here. Massive stomp to engage things off here. As I say, the GNL Bear, as we so love to call it, is going down here right away. Smurf trying to do his best with the Haze Fire combination, but gets stunned before he can use the Mana Stone to pop. Here we go, there's the Breath of Fire. Nice damage there. Demon Hunter 15sui getting caught a little bit in the front here. Lots of grunts going down in the meantime. This is an absolute slobberknocker of an engagement here, but oh, the Rune of Healing, absolutely crucial. The Demon Hunter goes down as well. This is pure chaos, Kevin.
Yeah, pure bloodbath here as we see more units going down, all the bears going down. I believe Master Bears has finished for all sides now, and we're seeing just tons of bear fights. Smurfs, Panda is getting surrounded. Is he paying attention? Ooh. Yes, he TPs at the last second, even with his delay.
Wow, that was an absolutely crazy engagement. There was so much fighting going on. We have all 4 players. We have a huge creep camp as well standing between both camps. The ability of that level 10 Dragon Turtle is insane. I think it does like it's like Carrion Swarm basically, except it's called
it's like basically level 1. Exactly.
No, it does like 150 damage to each unit. It's very very high, and it also devours units as well, like a Kodo. Pretty fun creep right there. So after the dust is settled, what can we expect now, Kevin, from the players?
Well, I think right now that both players or both teams have known that, hey, this one red camp is done, I think they're just going to fight for the second red camp, and that's going to be the location of the second big engagement. The Chinese team is pulling up there a little earlier, but the Western team is not far behind. And now that all the bears, bear tech from all players have come online, I think it's going to be a much more fair fight.
Absolutely, I think this time PaTo and Smurf have a more realistic chance of taking an engagement here. I will say though, the heroes of XiaoKai and 15sui are looking rather strong though, nicely using that roar in the back to apply to the Berserkers, the Troll Berserker, all these units benefiting massively from roar. There's huge piercing damage coming from the back row here, with a decent amount of frontline as well to support. So will the bears of PaTo and Smurf manage to chew through this?
Yeah, I think this is a situation where we're going to see the abilities of a 2-race team shine over a 1-base team or a 1-race team, whereas the range of the Berserkers and the aura from the Kodos are really going to make a lot of difference in this fight, especially in this more narrow choke area that the Chinese team is kind of like preventing the double Night Elf team from entering. We have a fight going on, Stop is going off, Haze Fire is going off on all of Smurf's bears. And
the Shadow Hunter right now.
Oh, Shadow Hunter goes down, but it's a level 1 Shadow Hunter, not the most important hero in the fight. Some Kodos are going down, and I think all of PaTo's bears are going down. PaTo's Demon Hunter is getting low, and he has to TP out, which means almost certainly that that the Chinese team will be taking the rest of this creep camp.
Yep, once again, that Demon Hunter going down, unfortunately for PaTo. Pretty rough times for him. Smurf here trying to get that level 5 final. Panda has a strong army himself and might be able to fend off this creeping here right now, going from the Chinese team, but it might not be quite enough, I'm afraid. Securing that Dragon Turtle there to the right, the Panda of 15sui is actually going to get all the experience here, which is pretty nice for him. And let's see what items we get. They do get the Warsong Battle Drums, which is a bit redundant, but still very nice nevertheless.
Yeah, level 5 Panda finally from Smurf, his dream, his goal, but is it too late? He's in this battle without any mana, so he can't even abuse the awesome late game power of the Panda. And I think they're kind of losing this fight that is dragging on over like 2 or 3 screens right now.
Yeah, this is another messy engagement here. We see units attacking units in all corners. Smurf about to unleash his first level 3 breath here in a moment. Lots of units going down actually for the Chinese team right now, but they're not so bothered, I think, Monk. We have 2 expansions from 15sui and XiaoKai. They're up 2 bases right now, while all of this fighting has been taking place, which I really love by them. They were fighting over an extremely important camp, but in the meantime, were able to set up their macro game properly and get ahead economically. You see 15sui with 2.4k gold pretty much right now, which is crazy.
Yeah, at this point, to be honest, I feel like the Chinese team is a little styling on the Western team. Like, you generally, the rule of thumb is you always want to be 1 expansion over your opponent. But like 2 expansions over your opponent, I feel like, unless you're in an extremely advantageous position, which the Chinese team is, like, it's probably more of a risk that you probably want to take.
It's kind of insane to see not only are they 2 bases ahead, but 15sui and XiaoKai also managed to get both red spots on the map, taking down the level 5 Panda of Smurf as well. It's safe to say the PaTo and Smurf are on the back foot here and have to defend in their base. Will we see the Chinese players go for the throat and end the game, or will they give them a chance to recover? I think not.
Yeah, it looks like the go for the throat option is what we're going for, and the Panda is fully stocked up. He has all the mana he could ever want with these Moonwells and mana pots. And here we go. Oh, Haze went off, but Fire did not. And we're going to have a delayed Fire. It's going to do a lot of damage, actually, as expected from a level 3 Fire. Farseer is getting really low. Wyvern is going down. And we're actually, I think we're going to see this...
Oh, the Panda's going down again!
The Panda! Oh, no! The Panda, the hard carry of this game, he's going down. He didn't have an invul. He used his greater invul in the last fight. He used his TP in the last fight. And that's going to be a huge turning point, unfortunately. There's, like, we talked about the advantages that both teams had, and the Panda was the only one that the Western team had. And now that that's gone, I feel like it's just curtains for the Western team.
It's absolutely curtains indeed. Nice game by 15sui and XiaoKai, I think, once again, showing how amazing their execution was in these games. Just incredibly solid strategically from start to finish, playing together as a team on Synergy, which kind of goes with the name of the map.
Yeah, funny how that worked out. It's a map that traditionally, like, you might expect more expansion, but for this particular game, I think, well, the fight's still going on, but we just saw a lot of synergy from both players, a lot of, like, a excellent game plan. Smurf comes back with a level 5 Panda, by the way. Level 6 Panda, is that going to be the saver? There's no, oh, he bought a mana pot. Okay, mana pot. Is he going to use it now? He might be hedging his bets and saying, hey, maybe I don't need this mana pot, or maybe I don't need to use my ultimate. No, he executes his ultimate. And I think with that, you might be able to hold off this push, but then what?
Look at the insurmountable gold difference between the teams here. 15sui sitting on over 3,000 gold in low upkeep right now. He doesn't care. I think they're feeling extremely confident right now. PaTo's Naga in the background being focused. Nicely used by 15sui, his info potion to keep the Demon Hunter alive.
Yeah, the Storm Panda goes down, one of the 3 pandas. The Fire Panda is actually taking a ton of damage. The Panda from the other team is being focused, but Erdruv is kind of topping him off. Pandas are doing, the Earth Elemental is doing a lot of damage, but it's not enough. The Chinese team weathers the storm, and unfortunately, this is maybe the first time where, in my entire life, where I've seen a Panda ultimate not be enough to come back into this game.
Well, as they say, Monk, there's a first time for everything.
And that also hurt quite a bit. We have our first grand finalist of the 2-2 tournament. It's the 2 Chinese, XiaoKai and 15sui. Pretty dominant performance overall in both of the maps, I would say. Very good movement across the mid game. First winning the fight on the left-hand side and then using that advantage for double expansions, Tiny Great Hall and Tree of Life, and getting the red spot on the right-hand side was a little bit too much for PaTo and Smurf.
Yep.
Yeah, I think in that particular game we were just shown, and this is something we don't often see at all. We are shown the preparation of XiaoKai and 15sui. I think they obviously, I think, did their homework. They realized what strategies that Smurf and PaTo were likely to go, and for Synergy in particular, they had a very clean creep out. They had a very clean strategy planned out in order to win that map. We saw they had vision the entire game of the middle, which gives you a huge advantage. And not only that, I think just overall their creep route and their just their creep route and their plan overall was very clean. Some key moments you saw were two 2.9 level heroes from the Western team versus two level 3 heroes from the Chinese team, and that kind of just really set the pace of the game.
Damn, that means we're done quick, we're done early, and that also means we have to kind of say goodbye to Monk. But Monk, you're involved in quite some interesting projects at the moment. Maybe we use the 15 minutes that we have still left to talk about, or at least some of that 15 minutes to talk about what you're involved in at the moment.
Right. Outside of my main job, which is obviously Warcraft 3 casting, I do a little side gig called game development. I'm currently a developer or a game designer on a little known game called Stormgate, made by Frost Giant Studios, where a team of ex-Blizzard employees who have kind of spun off, and where our goal is to make the next great RTS in this Blizzard style RTS even. In as a spiritual successor of things such as Warcraft 3 or StarCraft 2, games that players of or viewers of this channel might enjoy. We actually just announced that we will be opening up our pre-alpha, our alpha, and eventually our closed beta up. And we're actually going to be showing off some gameplay pretty soon, hopefully. So I can't announce exactly when or where we're going to show that off on this stream, but just know it's going to be a soon TM.
Soon TM. I pull up the tweet, but by the way, the Reddit post that your social media person did. Shout out to Gerald, very pleasant person. So yeah, closed testing period will kick off this July with a very small pre-alpha phase. Mon, can you announce that I will be part of that very small pre-alpha phase?
Well, you are paying me in exposure and experience here, so I don't know. I feel like you're gonna have to bump up my salary quite a bit.
God damn it, I thought this would
Well,
work. Well, but we have 2 more days. Maybe I can convince you until then. But if people want to get their hands on this game as soon as possible, is there maybe something they can do to be in the raffle for the closed beta that is coming up later?
Well, I'm glad you asked. If you want to sign up for a possibility to be in the closed beta later, you can go to playstormgate.com and just hit enter, I guess. Another thing, if you want to just support the Frost Giant team as a whole, you can go to our Steam page. Just search for Stormgate and wish list us. That actually gives us a ton of visibility, and it ensures that when we eventually go into early access, players will be able to discover who we are. They'll be recommended our game, and just as a normal viewer, a normal lover of RTS in general, that's the best way you can support us as a team.
In our chat, you can find that page with !Stormgate, so it's very handy at your fingertips. It all costs you like 2 or 3 clicks with your mouse. It's not that hard. Quberte, are you excited for Stormgate? Will you be playing it?
Absolutely, Neo. Of course I'm going to give it a try, especially knowing Monk as well for quite some time now. Of course I have to try his game. How could I not do that? But yeah.
Yeah, be a good friend, Quberte.
Yeah. Obviously, we all love Warcraft 3 dearly, and probably would want it to be like a major game forever. If it was, and we can't really call it a major game currently, but if it were a major game and a mainstay game, we'd like it to continue, I think, forever. But of course, we need new ideas, we need new people involved, and perhaps that requires a new game, and we're all hoping that Stormgate will be a big success.
On top of that very busy schedule you have with casting Warcraft and developing a game, you're casting other games as well, Monk, aren't you? Soon, I heard.
Yeah, well, I actually haven't announced this anywhere, so
Oh,
this is the world announcement. I can talk about it, but I will be on the GDQ stream casting a speed run of Hearthstone in early next week, or yeah, sometime 2 Mondays from now. Basically what GDQ is it's games done quick. It's a semi-annual event where players speed run various games in order to raise money for charity. In this case, I believe the charity is Doctors Without Borders. Before I was involved in Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2, and Stormgate, I was in the Hearthstone community, which Neo actually knows me from, and I'm just like going back to that Hearthstone scene and just kind of giving my single player input and speedrunning input is again very little well known. I also speed ran Hearthstone as well, so that'll be pretty exciting and new for me.
I don't even know how do you do that in Hearthstone, but I'll be watching, of course. Man, whenever you mentioned that, the memories of WCA 2014, that was quite a special event.
Yeah, all the way in what was that? Like it wasn't Hangzhou,
Yinchuan.
it was like
Inchuan.
Incheon. It was the middle of nowhere. Like it was like the city was like half built. It was a crazy time, Neo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're done by now, huh? Okay. But you, of course, joined us here today. You will be joining us tomorrow and for the grand final as well. And tomorrow, we will get two juggernaut teams. We get Lawlight and Sock versus Kraft and Starbuck. Your predictions before we let you go, Monk.
Oh my God, that is such a hype match because there's always, I think, a debate among fans of 2v2 of like, is 2v2 skill more valuable or is 1v1 skill more valuable? And I think within anyone who ladders, within the community of people who ladder in 2v2, Starbuck and Krav, and specifically Starbuck is known kind of as like the god of 2v2. He's probably like with regards to 2v2 skill, I don't think anyone in the world trumps him, and he's especially known for 2v2. On the other hand, Sock and Lalite, they are known as, of course, like some of the best night elves and humans in the world, and they're known for the 1v1 skill. But they're no slouches in 2v2 either. They're like a regular 2v2 team. So like I don't know if like this is the kind of the fairest debate here of like because it's basically like two v2 specialists who are very good at 1v1 and then two 1v1 specialists who are also like some of the top 2v2 players. So no matter what, I think it's going to be amazing. What I do want to say is like I think the Lawlight and Sock, they're kind of like a little more standard team. They play Night Elf and Human in a very standard way for the most part, whereas I think Krav and Starbuck have the capability to go a little more crazy. I think I can much more easily predict what Light and Sock will do, but I think Krav and Starbuck are going to pull out some really interesting strategies that might catch Sock and Light off guard. I think it's the first time we're doing like a big 2v2 tournament of such a large scale. So I'm really excited to see like what they pull out there. Just it's probably like my highlight match of the entire tournament, I gotta say.
Over the one-on-ones. All right, all right. So I guess you gotta go back to bed now and catch up on some sleep and save RTS afterwards, huh?
Yep. Well, all in the day's work.
The day's work. Monk, thank you very much for getting up at 5 a.m. for the 2-on-2 action. A wonderful job as always. We will replace you with Mr. Remo Demo now, if that's okay.
All right. Great upgrade.
I don't know about upgrade, but definitely a good choice as well. Where can people follow you if they want more Monk?
Well, if they want more Monk, you can always follow me at my Twitter account, which is solid_monk. And yeah, I post tweets about mostly game dev, but also if I'm like casting events like this, which I might do in the future if you host more 2v2 tournaments, Neo.
Well, okay. It kind of works. Monk, have a good rest of your day. See you tomorrow morning. And we send you guys into a little break. And then we continue with the one-on-one section because we need some more semi-finalists. Today is the day of Happy, Labyrinth, Kaho, and LeMay. So see you soon for the one-on-ones.